If Brian felt after 3 months, I would have given them personally 3 months to settle down and play as they're capable of playing.
Don, even with Billy's eight-match suspension?
Yes, I'd have had Terry Yorath, I'd have had Mick Bates, I'd have had Joe Jordan, I'd have had Frankie Gray. He had four very world-class players.
He betrayed me. Those 3 words sum up the complicated story of Don Revie, a man who built one of English football's greatest dynasties, but whose methods would leave a trail of broken trust behind him. Why would a manager considered one of the greatest ever be accused of betrayal? What did he do that was so bad? To understand that, we need to go back to where it all began. Don Revie transformed Leeds United from a struggling second division club into one of Europe's most powerful sides. He created what he called a family atmosphere at the club. Players loved him. Some even called him a father figure rather than just a manager. But behind the success and the warm words was something darker, a pattern of ruthless decisions, a willingness to break the rules, a man who would do whatever it took to win. This is the story of 4 men who saw that side of Don Revie up close. Our story begins not with Revie as a manager, but as a player at Manchester City. It was 1951 when Revie joined City. His manager, Les McDowell, came up with a clever tactical plan. He deployed Revie as a deep-lying center forward. It was revolutionary for English football at the time. They called it the Revie plan, and it worked. Revie excelled in this new role. In 1955, he was named Football Writers Association Footballer of the Year. He earned 6 caps for England. Everything seemed perfect, but it wasn't. By the start of the 1955-56 season, something went wrong. Revie and McDowell had a major fallout. The relationship got so bad that Revie received a 14-day suspension from the club. McDowell started preferring another player, Bobby Johnstone, over Revie. For most of that season, the star player was being pushed out of the team. The rift between them was deep and personal, but the real moment of conflict came during the 1956 FA Cup final. Despite their terrible relationship and Revie's limited playing time that season, McDowell selected him for the final against Birmingham City. During the match, Revie provided the assist for the opening goal, but then he did something remarkable at halftime. He instructed his teammate Ken Barnes to ignore the manager's instructions. Revie changed the tactics himself, without permission, without authority. He simply decided he knew better than his boss. And you know what? It worked. City dominated the second half and won 3-1. Revie was named man of the match. Think about that for a moment. A player defied his manager in the biggest game of the season and won. What does that teach you? That breaking the rules is okay if you get results? That authority doesn't matter as long as you win. Was Revie's defiance in that cup final genius or betrayal? Should players be allowed to ignore their managers if they think they know better? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this video so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The victory should have been a happy ending, but it wasn't. The rift with McDowell was permanent. Revie was moved to a different position the next season. He felt marginalized. In November 1956, he left Manchester City for Sunderland. The lesson he learned from that cup final would shape everything that came after. He learned that defying authority could work, that established management structures were obstacles to overcome, that winning justified any method, and when he became a manager himself, those lessons would define his approach. In March 1961, Revie got his chance. He was appointed player manager of Leeds United. The club was struggling in the second division. They had never won a major trophy. Revie saw a dead club with a rotten core. He immediately began transforming everything. He changed the team's kit from blue and gold to all white. He wanted to copy the success of Real Madrid. Within 2 years, he discarded 27 players who he said didn't care about playing. He was ruthless in clearing out anyone he thought wasn't committed, but he also did something else, something that would become his signature. He built what he called a family. Revie developed a youth academy. He created a deep sense of togetherness among his players. He cared intensely about their welfare. Some players, like Eddie Gray, described him as more of a father than a manager. This wasn't just good management, it was strategic. In an era when players earned limited money, this personal connection was powerful. It built loyalty, it built commitment, and it would create one of the most intense teams English football had ever seen. One of Revie's greatest achievements was transforming Jack Charlton. Charlton was already at Leeds when Revie arrived, but he was a problem. People called him a one-man awkward squad. He was a terrible trainer. His attitude was poor. He had a difficult relationship with previous managers. Most managers would have sold him, but Revie saw something different. He saw raw potential under all that attitude. So he made a decision. He would stick with Charlton and other underperformers like Billy Bremner. He believed he could fix them. Revie confronted Charlton directly. He told him he should be ashamed of himself, that instead of playing center forward in the reserves, he should be playing center half for England with his ability. It was a challenge, a wake-up call, and it worked. Under Revie's coaching, Charlton flourished. The surly, undisciplined player became the defensive cornerstone of the team. He became crucial to England's 1966 World Cup winning squad. In 1967, he was named Footballer of the Year, The transformation was complete. But here's the thing. This wasn't just about being a good manager. It was about creating something specific. Revie saved players like Charlton. He gave them careers they wouldn't have had otherwise. And in doing so, he created a personal debt. Those players felt they owed him everything. They became intensely loyal. They would fight for him on the pitch with a fierce intensity that rivals saw as dirty or cynical. The family Revie built wasn't just about warmth and care, it was about control, about creating a machine that would do anything to win for him. Charlton's transformation became the template for Revie's entire system. Take volatile, difficult players who other managers had given up on, challenge them, invest in them personally, make them believe you're the only one who saw their potential, then watch as that gratitude turns into fierce, unbreakable loyalty. It was brilliant psychology. Charlton went from being a reserve player with attitude problems to an England World Cup winner. And he would defend Revie for the rest of his life. That loyalty was the foundation of everything Revie built at Leeds, a team that would fight, cheat, or do whatever necessary to win. For the man who saved them, Revie's family had clear rules. If you were committed and had potential, he would save you. He would transform you. He would make you great. But there was another side to this. What happened when a player was no longer useful? What happened when the family couldn't fix your problems? That's where Alan Peacock comes in. Alan Peacock was an England international center forward. He played for Leeds United. He should have had a great career, but he didn't. Peacock was unlucky. He suffered endless injury problems throughout his career. A severe knee injury caused him to miss the 1966 World Cup squad. His body kept breaking down. In the season before 1967, he only managed to play 9 games. Revie described him as luckless. It seemed sympathetic, but it wasn't. You see, unlike Charlton's attitude problem, Revie couldn't fix Peacock's body. Man management couldn't solve constant injuries, and reliability was everything to Revie. Goals had always been hard to come by for Leeds. He needed a striker he could count on. Peacock's injuries made him unreliable, so Revie made a cold calculation. He needed to upgrade. In October 1967, Revie broke the club's transfer record. He signed center forward Mick Jones from Sheffield United for £100,000. And at the same time, Peacock was allowed to move on to Plymouth Argyle. Think about what that means. The family loyalty vanished the moment Peacock was no longer useful. He was discarded. There was no sentimentality, no loyalty in return for his service. Jones went on to form a great partnership with Alan Clark. Leeds became more successful, but Peacock was gone, forgotten. The family was really just a machine, and machines discard broken parts. This reveals the truth about Revie's methods. The father figure, the man who saved careers, the builder of families. It was all real in one sense, but it was also ruthlessly pragmatic. Individual loyalty was always subordinate to the collective goal of winning trophies. If you could help win, you were family. If you couldn't, you were expendable. And this ruthless pragmatism extended beyond just roster decisions. It extended into something much darker. In 1974, Revie left Leeds to become England's national team manager. He took with him a reputation. Leeds had been heavily criticized for their physical and negative approach. Opponents like George Best said he hated playing against them, that he only wore shin pads when facing Leeds. There were also persistent rumors about financial impropriety. In 1972, Revie earned the nickname Don Revie. The name was a play on words suggesting he handed out cash, ready money. These weren't just rumors from nobodies. Alan Ball, a respected England international, revealed that Revie had tried to sign him in the mid-1960s. Ball claimed Revie sent weekly £100 bribes to his home while he was at Blackpool. The payments were meant to convince him to sign for Leeds. Ball ended up signing for Everton instead, but the FA still fined him £3,000 for the whole affair. Then there was Bob Stokoe. Stokoe managed Sunderland when they famously beat Revie's Leeds in the 1973 FA Cup final. Stokoe repeatedly claimed that back in 1962, when he was managing Bury, Revie offered him £500 to go easy on Leeds while they were fighting relegation. Stokoe was considered a highly credible witness who had nothing to gain from lying, but the most serious allegations came in 1972. They involved a match against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Media reports claimed Revie had attempted to bribe Wolves players to lose the game. The claims came from Wolves midfielder Danny Hegan, but more importantly, they came from Gary Sprake. Sprake was Leeds' former goalkeeper. He alleged that Leeds captain Billy Bremner was involved in arranging the bribe. Sprake had already left Leeds after publicly criticizing how Revie treated him in 1972-73. Now he was making explosive allegations about match fixing. The allegations painted a disturbing picture. According to the reports, Leeds needed to win that match desperately. They were in a tight title race, so Revie allegedly authorized an approach to Wolves players offering them money to underperform. It was blatant corruption, the kind of thing that destroys the integrity of the entire sport, and Sprake claimed he witnessed it firsthand. He said he watched as arrangements were made, as money changed hands, as the beautiful game was reduced to a bought transaction. These weren't vague rumors. They were specific, detailed accusations from someone who had been inside the dressing room, someone who knew how Revie operated. someone who had finally had enough of the lies and decided to speak out. Consequences be damned. On July 12, 1977, everything came to a head. Revie's tenure as England manager ended abruptly, but not through normal channels. He revealed he was quitting in an exclusive interview sold to the Daily Mail. He hadn't told the Football Association first, he just announced he was leaving to manage the UA national team. It was shocking, disrespectful, and highly suspicious. Why did he leave so suddenly? Why sell the story to a newspaper before telling his employers? Richard Stott, a senior reporter for the Daily Mirror, later revealed the answer. Stott exposed Revie as a match fixer using evidence from Gary Sprake. According to Stott's reporting, Revie fled to the UA precisely because he discovered that Sprake was about to spill the beans. Sprake was paid £14,000 for his evidence. The timing was too perfect to be coincidence. Revie negotiated a lucrative 4-year deal with UAE and escaped just as the scandal was about to break. It looked like a calculated escape. What happened to Sprake after he spoke out? Despite telling the truth about corruption, he was ostracized by his former teammates. He was consistently absent from reunions of that iconic Leeds squad. The family Revie had built remained loyal to their father figure. They turned their backs on Sprake for betraying the code. Even when that code involved alleged corruption, the loyalty Revie had cultivated was so deep that it survived even credible accusations of match fixing. The Football Association suspended Revie from domestic football for 10 years. They charged him with bringing the game into disrepute. But the legal battles that followed were complicated. Billy Bremner successfully sued newspapers for libel over the 1972 Wolves allegations. He won £100,000 in damages after both Hegan and Sprake refused to repeat their claims under oath in court. This gave Revie's supporters ammunition. They could say the allegations weren't proven legally. Revie also challenged his 10-year ban in the High Court. He won that lawsuit. The court ruled that the FA had overreached its powers in imposing such a lengthy suspension. On paper, it looked like vindication, but the judge's words told a different story. Mr. Justice Cantley delivered a brutal character assessment. He said Revie lacked candor, that he was greedy, that he focused on imagined wrongs. The judge condemned Revie's resignation as England manager as a sensational, outrageous example of disloyalty, breach of trust, discourtesy, and selfishness. The legal victories couldn't erase that moral judgment. After leaving England, Revie managed the UAE national team until 1980. He then coached Dubai club Al Nasser until 1984. He had a brief time at Egyptian club Al Ahly. In 1985, he returned to England, but he never worked in professional football again. In 1989, Don Revie died in Edinburgh. He was 61 years old. He had been battling motor neurone disease for several years, so what's the final verdict on Don Revie? He is unquestionably one of the most successful managers in English football history. He took a second division team that had never won a major trophy. He transformed Leeds United into one of Europe's most powerful sides. He won the first division twice. He won the FA Cup once, all between 1961 and 1974. His tactical innovation was brilliant. His man management skills created deep loyalty. He transformed underperforming individuals into world-class players. But his legacy is forever contested. The evidence suggests his success was built on ruthlessness and ethical compromise. His willingness to defy McDowell in 1956 set a pattern. He learned that results justified any method. The allegations from Stokoe and Ball established a pattern of financial misconduct. The decision to flee to the UAE when Sprake was about to expose him looked like guilt. The judge's condemnation confirmed his disloyalty and selfishness. Success came at a price. Revie's legacy shows a deep split. Those he developed and mentored, like Jack Charlton and Billy Bremner, maintained unshakable loyalty. They stood by him even through scandal. Sprake was ostracized for telling the truth, but those he allegedly cheated or betrayed paint a different picture. McDowell, whose instructions he defied, Stokoe, who he allegedly tried to bribe, Peacock, who he discarded when injuries made him useless, Sprake, who he allegedly tried to silence by fleeing the country. These men provided the permanent indictment that defined the end of his career. Don Revie remains one of English football's most masterful, yet morally compromised figures. Was he a genius who did what was necessary to win, or was he corrupt, disloyal, and willing to betray anyone who got in his way? What's your final take on Revie's legacy? Let me know in the comments below. The truth is probably more complicated than either extreme. Revie existed in a gray area where brilliance and corruption intertwined, where genuine care for players coexisted with ruthless manipulation, where tactical innovation came alongside ethical compromise. His story reminds us that success in football, like in life, rarely comes clean, that the men we celebrate as legends often have shadows we prefer to ignore, that loyalty can be both a beautiful thing and a dangerous weapon, and that sometimes the price of winning is paid not by those who triumph, but by those left behind in the pursuit of glory.